Just to ease our audience into the conversation.
Sure.
When we talk of migration and the diaspora, everyone in Sri Lanka today seems to be having someone or more than someone overseas. From what you have observed over the years, looking at the picture now, how would you define Sri Lanka's diaspora?
The diaspora, it's not a monolith, right? It's very much like Sri Lanka. It has the cultural diversity that Sri Lanka has, and the reasons why people have traveled are numerous. It can range from economic opportunity seeking to education to reunifications with families. Very diverse, very spread out across the globe.
How valuable is this diaspora to the country right now?
Tremendously valuable, and for lots of different reasons. It's not that we don't have great people, knowledge and skills in the country, but you need infusions of knowledge and skills. That's one really important piece. The networks that get formed. You know, when you have someone from the UK moving here, they understand the UK market. They have connections into that market. So those networks that form. And the diaspora is a fantastic source of investment because they're what you can call patient capital, right? They're not looking for quick returns, right? They're looking to invest in the country, invest in families, and they have a much better understanding of the inherent risk of an investment than, let's say, anybody else out there who looks at just the market rating or market risk rating. So patient capital that understands risk. Just a cultural interchange, right? Mixing of different cultures that takes place as a result of the diaspora. So very important.
Very important. We can look at brain drain as a threat or look at the opportunities presented by our diaspora. We spoke about all of this and more with Ganaka Herath. Stay tuned.
For 30 years, LMD has been the voice of business in Sri Lanka, capturing the pulse of the nation's corporate landscape through its iconic covers. Each cover tells a story, from the first edition in 1994 to the present day, narrating key moments, leaders and trends that have shaped Sri Lanka's business ecosystem. Over the years, LMD covers have featured thought leaders, business pioneers and game-changing innovations, reflecting the evolution of industries and the economy. As we celebrate 30 years, these covers represent more than just publications. They are a testament to LMD's legacy of excellence in business journalism and its unwavering commitment to being Sri Lanka's leading voice of business. LMD, Sri Lanka's voice of business, a legacy of 30 years.
Hello and welcome to LMDtv. The topic of conversation today is engaging the diaspora, and I'm here with the managing partner of McKinsey and Company Sri Lanka, Ganaka Herath. Ganaka, welcome to our show.
Thank you for having me.
Just to ease our audience into the conversation.
Sure.
When we talk of migration and the diaspora, everyone in Sri Lanka today seems to be having someone or more than someone overseas. From what you have observed over the years, looking at the picture now, how would you define Sri Lanka's diaspora?
So that's a great question. Look, I think the easiest way to answer that is the diaspora, it's not a monolith, right? It's very much like Sri Lanka. It has the cultural diversity that Sri Lanka has, and the reasons why people have traveled are numerous. It can range from economic opportunity seeking to education to reunifications with families. But if you go like one level deeper, what you'll see is there are about 3 million, I think, current estimates of Sri Lankans outside of Sri Lanka, all over the world, but the concentrations are Middle East, where we have both unskilled and skilled workers. Then, of course, the US, Canada, UK and Australia represent a big share. In Europe, really concentrated in France, Germany and Switzerland. And then in Southeast Asia, really Malaysia and Singapore stand out, even though we have people all over that region. So very diverse, very spread out across the globe.
And looking at it, I mean, you mentioned the quantity. Looking at it from a quality perspective, if that's a fair question to ask, how valuable is this diaspora to the country right now?
Oh, wow. Having been a member of the diaspora, I should probably say very valuable, but even taking that out of the equation, tremendously valuable. And for lots of different reasons. I keep coming back to this point. A country, when it wants to develop, needs what is called tacit knowledge to be transferred from outside in, right? It's not that we don't have great people, knowledge and skills in the country, but you need infusions of knowledge. The US, one of the most productive societies in the world, notwithstanding what's going on right now, has about 1 in 10 individuals that are from outside of the US. Right? If you look at the number for Sri Lanka, it's 1 in 500.
Wow.
If you take out the Indian population, it's 1 in 10,000. Right?
Okay.
And then you have to start thinking about what that does to our ability to renew ourselves from an economic perspective. So knowledge and skills, that's one really important piece. The networks that get formed. You know, when you have someone from the UK moving here, they understand the UK market. They have connections into that market. So those networks that form. That's kind of one bucket of things, so the networks and skills. The other one is really about, you know, what we talk about all the time, remittances.
Yes.
Right? This is really important for us now.
Right now.
And will continue to be so. And we are seeing a very strong growth in remittances. I think the latest numbers out will put us close to 7 billion, I think, or 6.5 to 7 billion in remittances all in. But linked to that is investment. Right. And the diaspora is a fantastic source of investment because they're what you can call patient capital, right?
Okay.
They're not looking for quick returns, right? They're looking to invest in the country, invest in families, and they have a much better understanding of the inherent risk of an investment than, let's say, anybody else out there who looks at just the market rating or market risk rating. So patient capital that understands risk. And then the last piece I think is just a cultural interchange, right? Mixing of different cultures that takes place as a result of the diaspora. So very important.
Very important. And I love those different perspectives from knowledge to culture to investments. Thank you. And looking at tacit knowledge and information and I would say experience also. Last year in the World Economic Forum website, there was an article that said that for ASEAN countries especially, it was very critical to engage the diaspora so that you can unlock the region's potential in terms of the digital economy. What does the picture look like for us since we are also trying to get our digital economy up and running? So,
look, I think there are both similarities and differences. Okay. Let's talk about the similarities first, and then I'll try and touch on the differences. And this is a personal perspective. The similarities are, if I understood what that report was trying to get across, when you look at ASEAN as a bloc, there are quite a few skills shortages ranging from digital skills to today advanced analytics, so data science, data engineering, cloud computing, whatever it may be. And there is this huge set of, not one country, but that region, a huge set of individuals who possess those skills outside of the country and who actually don't even have to necessarily move back to contribute, right, with today's economy of remote working. So there's a real opportunity there to create to bridge the skills gap that's there. That I think is true also for Sri Lanka.
Yes.
There is a network opportunity, which is, like I just said, one of the greatest benefits of the diaspora is that connections that it forms, right? So connecting the ASEAN bloc to other parts and helping people and investment opportunities from other parts of the world into the bloc. So that's also true for Sri Lanka. The last one is around actual funding that can come in. Now, the ASEAN bloc is fairly wealthy, but if you still think about it, there are countries at various different stages of development. Similar to Sri Lanka, we would benefit from that inflow.
Of course.
Now, Where I think there is a difference is the following. When you look at Sri Lanka's economy and you think about digitization, there are two ways to think about it. One is to think about, can I create supply?
Yeah.
This is the providers of digital services.
Right.
The other is, can I stimulate demand, which is the consumption of digital services and the use of digital as a way of operating. So a good way of thinking about that would be, would I buy my groceries online, right? Now, Sri Lanka, I think, and there's a fair bit of literature that supports this, but it's not everybody's view, so I should just be transparent. Should, I think, initially focus on demand stimulation on the digital side. So there, again, there is benefits that we can get from the diaspora.
Yeah.
We need better digital solutions. We need better kind of enabling environments. But that's a slight difference, I think, a bit with about how ASEAN is thinking about it versus what it would be for Sri Lanka. But still, a lot of benefit from the diaspora to be had.
Wow, lovely. It's time now to take a very short break, but we'll soon be back to talk more about engaging the diaspora.
Display your brand message on digital screens at prime locations. The largest digital advertising network in Sri Lanka. Emerging Media.
Welcome back to the show. We're in conversation with the managing partner of McKinsey and Company Sri Lanka, Ganaka Herath. And talking about, I mean, you mentioned inflows a lot of different kinds. I think in 2023, you were quoted in an LMD article and you said, we have to create an economy locally that would entice and encourage the diaspora to come in with fresh ideas and tacit knowledge. So 2 years, or maybe a little less than that, have we progressed in creating this economy? And if not, how can we fast track it?
Yeah. Look, have we progressed? Yes. Are we there yet? No. And I think we need to be thoughtful here. If you think about why people leave Sri Lanka or any country, as I said in the beginning, there's a multitude of reasons. It could be for educational purposes. It could be because they're looking for economic opportunity. It could be that they're coming together with a family member who is abroad. Each of these needs something different to happen in Sri Lanka and to our economy to kind of entice those people back. My opinion is that we probably need to be on a 10-year journey to get to that point. And what does that journey need to look like? It needs to be, 4, 5, 6% growth for a prolonged period of time. Improvements in our policies and our institutions that give people confidence to come back to Sri Lanka, greater transparency, so on. Educational establishments that, we have some fantastic universities. Moratuwa comes to mind. But capacity, we need more capacity. And there, Port City, where there are a number of universities being thought of, could be an answer. But again, we are looking 5, 10 years out. And then as we grow and as the per capita GDP starts to increase and there is more and more opportunity in Sri Lanka, that creates a natural kind of magnetic pull back into the country. And that's how you want people to come back, right? You want people to be wanting to either invest back in the country or return.
Of course.
Just, we talk about it all the time about wanting people to come back. But I think engaging people where they are and
not just physically
come back. And there's a real opportunity for everyone who's here, right? At points in an economy when there is rapid migration out, we always worry about the brain drain and the skills gaps that form. But in there is huge opportunity for the young cadre of employees that are there in the country.
And talking of that opportunity, how can we encourage businesses and individuals in Sri Lanka to be open to collaborations with the diaspora?
look, that I think is both a fantastic question and quite a tough one. There's a soft side to this. The soft side of it is, I think we sometimes think, oh, diaspora investment is a no-brainer.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily so, right? And I think there is a piece which is fostering understanding and communication that needs to happen. What does that mean? It means some people have real concerns, right? Yeah. Are we going to lose our jobs? Is that funding going to kind of displace us in some way? Expressing, understanding those concerns, hearing them, and addressing them. Yeah. We need to share some success stories so that people can see what the benefits of, not just hear about it, right? Yeah. You need to be able to see it. And then also create some form of interconnectivity, right? Yes. The forums that enable us to come together. We need to put those in place. And there are many countries that do that well, that we could learn from. The other part is the enabling environment. Think about that as the policies, and I'm not going to go into too much detail there, but you need to have confidence that when you come back to Sri Lanka, or when you're working in Sri Lanka, or when you invest in Sri Lanka, that there is, transparency and the rule of law. Yeah. So you need to have that in place. That's critical. Lots of people leave because the lack of
that. Yes.
Then comes a piece around, like, actually saying what are the different needs, right? Or think about that as a matching platform. Yeah. What does Sri Lanka need from the diaspora? What does the diaspora need from Sri Lanka? And finally, again, coming back to something soft, I think we need to both recognize the contributions and appreciate them. India does this fantastically well. They've got a program, Pravasi Bharatiya Divas, I think it's called, Non-Resident Indian Day. Right. And the premise of it is, when Mahatma Gandhi came back from South Africa in 1915, it was on the 9th of January. I hope I'm not getting any of these wrong. It's been a while since I looked at that. But it was on the 9th of January. And every 2 years, India celebrates that day. Wow. And they go from state to state. And what they do is they showcase the diversity of India to the world. Wow. They let Indians abroad connect with both the government and the Indian population, state by state. And they have special awards that they give out for Indians that living abroad that have contributed to the development of India. Lovely. Fantastic, right? Lovely. Every 2 years. It's our neighbor that does this. It's a fantastic program. Yeah. There are programs like this all over the world that we could learn from. Wow. So, yeah.
Ganaka, it's been such an insightful conversation, but unfortunately we'll have to let you go in a bit.
Sure.
Before that, I'll ask one more question. You said that we have to create that environment, that enticement, that magnetism. Of course, various parties will have to play a role here, but looking at the general population, the businesses, maybe even the young cadre of Sri Lankans here, how can we create a positive mindset towards this engagement so that it's no longer like us and them, or like it's all of us together?
What breaks down most barriers is connection, right? Like when we interact with anything that we don't understand, and we get to see that there isn't, something very strange on the other side, just another person. So a few things. We need forums of connectivity, right? Who does this well? Nigeria has a forum. Ireland Global Economic Forum, which is essentially bringing together both the Sri Lankans that are interested in investment or interested in partnership and the diaspora. Yes. It would be unfair to say we don't do that. I think the Chamber tries to do that with its economic forum, even though it's not targeted at the diaspora. There's a lot of diaspora interest there. Yes. I recently spoke at the Global Tea Convention, which was in Sri Lanka. There's a lot of diaspora connection there. Yes. But we could potentially think about a diaspora focused forum that would create connectivity. Next, there are also we can also use technology here, platforms, right?
Yeah.
Which, you know, I wish I could consider myself young, but the younger Sri Lankans, they are constantly online, using digital, using various forms of technology. How do you leverage that to connect them to diaspora sources of funding and knowledge?
Yes.
And finally, we cannot stress this enough. And I think the government is trying to do this, the BOI and so on. We must give confidence to Sri Lankans abroad and just the wider investment community abroad that the rule of law and transparency is a norm in Sri Lanka, not the exception.
Yes. We've been in conversation with the managing partner of McKinsey & Company Sri Lanka, Ganaka Herath. Ganaka, thank you very much for an insightful interview.
Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
And thank you to all our viewers for joining us. Until next time, take care.
Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram and X. Thank you for watching and stay safe.